complex, tangled like a ball of snakes. React makes you feel good, but it's full of fakes. Wrapping up functions in a maze of shit. You call that development? You ain't legit. Think you slick with your components and props. Deep inside you know it's all a flop. Dumb down the code or give them tags to click. Candy coated bullshit is making me sick. React's a cage, locking up your mind. Fancy UI, leave the logic behind. Confuse the basics, syntax a mess. This framework, it ain't the best. Copy-paste warriors flexing with hooks. Can't even debug, lost in their books. Same damn patterns, same damn code. Battleships sinking, too much to load. Front-end ninjas or so they think. Falling for React, take another drink. Refreshing the browser till the cows come home. Living in a fantasy, can't code alone. React's a cage, locking up your mind. Fancy UI, leave the logic behind. Confuse the basics, syntax a mess. This framework, it ain't the best. React got you feeling fly, cold in the mess. Building complex websites, bro, what a stress. Dumbing down devs, making them feel blessed. Lost in the JSX, call it a fucking test. Dependencies stacked like a dealer's stash. Props flowing everywhere, what a fucking clash. Flexing on GitHub, but your skills don't flash. Lost in abstraction, homie, that's trash. Fuck React, it's just a bluff. JavaScript wizards acting tough. Wrapped in components, aim your cuff. Slaves to frameworks, had enough. Virtual DOM, think it's slick, you novice. Real world call, show your lack of prowess. Promise chains breaking, fuck your solace. Code base tangle worse than fucking shoelaces. State management, bro, need some meds. Reducer functions killing my fucking head. Redux context, spinning threads. Real devs cut through, no React feds. Fuck React, it's just a bluff. JavaScript wizards acting tough. Wrapped in components, ain't no cuff. Slaves to frameworks, had enough.
What's up, everyone? I just need a second here.
Yo, React's a trap, code tangled like a rat's nest. Swear it's a circus developer straight depressed. Spaghetti on the screen, every hook got them stressed. Fools feeling smart, but they just impressed the pest. React, got programmers looking whack. Code broke as hell, but they puff it out their chest. Think they slick, but they lost in the stack. React's a mind game, got them possessed, yeah, possessed.
Okay. Yeah. Here, let me turn off the music. I thought I'd play some React songs because of React Miami conference, which is basically just a cult conference. That's all it is. And I know some of you think I'm joking, but I'm actually not joking. What's up, Ross on Twitch? What's up, Pure on Twitch? Vamp on YouTube. Shut up, Vamp. It is a cult conference. That's the entire thing is a cult following, and React is not the only one. If you're watching right now, you probably heard me talk about this a million times, so I won't cover it again. But yeah, welcome in, everybody. I know I didn't do a daily tech news yesterday. That's my fault. I will probably do a bit of a longer one today, just a touch longer, just to kind of make up for it. Or there's not a lot of viewers in right now, so I think I can get away with saying this. I think I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow, and I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I'm gonna lay out some information I found that lends some credence to my conspiracy theory from 1 or 2 weeks ago, where I was going off on a wild tangent that I completely made up, by the way, with no evidence at all. I would just wanted to throw out a conspiracy theory, even though I believe it, but no evidence, but I still believe it. But I think I'm starting to find evidence. I think my Alex Jones moment happened, and I'm just starting to clue in on it. So I might tackle that tomorrow, and not just that, but I want to talk about the documentary I'm trying to make, where I kind of describe the death of the industry. So we'll do that. We'll do that tomorrow, I think. Ads on Twitch. I guess you get ads on YouTube too, eh? Yeah, typical Root Greek. I know. That's how we roll. On Easter Sunday, no less, when the Orthodox Greeks are spending the day doing their worship today. It's the big thing. For it's a big deal for Orthodox Greeks. So I'm kind of doing a disservice to my brethren. So Ross, you'll be happy to know I don't have any hospital news today. So you're dodging a bullet, I guess. Pure doing good. No one's in the office, so I'm listening to you. Just sitting here fricking broken concatenations. Nice, Pure. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Yeah. And thanks for listening in, Pure. I appreciate it. So yeah, welcome in. So yeah, like I said, tomorrow might be kind of like a special off documentary conspiracy stream. I'm thinking about it because I kind of think I have some cool stuff to talk about that might be fun. Might be like a whole unhinged rant with figuring out what I want to put in my documentary. And I'm gonna have to do the documentary by myself. I don't have any money to spend on somebody doing a professional video, so it's gonna be amateur hour, super amateur hour. But we'll wait for 20 more seconds, and then when the Twitch ads are done, we'll get into the news. And I have some good news. I have bad news, but it's good news. Like, as in, you're gonna be, yeah. Anyway, I won't spoil it, but it's yeah, it's good. Let me have a sip of coffee here. Okay, folks. Shall we? Oh, Canada. I'm kidding. I don't have any Canadian news. Okay, let me make sure I'm starting in the right spot here. Yeah, and I'll switch my camera. Okay, so we'll blast through a few smaller news items. I just want to bring it to attention in case anybody out there finds it useful. So Discord is starting to test facial recognition scans for age verification. This is for the UK and Australia. So you might not see it if you're outside of that, but I just thought it was an interesting thing that they're trying to do. It's a dual-edged sword. Obviously, we could talk about that quite a bit. There's positives and negatives to this. I don't honestly know where I land exactly. I would like to see more safety steps being taken like this, obviously, because children are vulnerable, especially in places that aren't very heavily monitored appropriately. I don't know why I'm getting a Tampax Pearl ad in Chinese. By the way, are you guys seeing this? Why am I getting a Chinese Tampax Pearl ad? What the hell is going on? What kind of websites am I visiting, bros? What is this? I just noticed this. Look. Caught. I'm caught. Red-handed. I'm caught. Okay. Let's just get to the next one. Jeez. This I thought was really sad. The last Radio Shack in Maryland is closing its doors. Now, this was just kind of like, it's kind of a sad thing because I remember when I was a young buck and Radio Shack was a go-to place to go get like electrical components, electrical odds and ends. And when I was in construction and I was doing electrical work, it was low voltage. So, I mean, yeah, depending on your perspective, that's not real electrical, but still. Okay, I had to work under someone who was a qualified electrician, all right? Okay, they had to sign off on me so I could do low voltage, okay? So, like, just deal with it. Anyway, I just remember there were some good times going to Radio Shack. So, it's a little bit of, I don't know. It sucks seeing them go out of business there. Kind of sucks. This I thought was interesting. Matt from WordPress is proving himself to be a further and further piece of crap. That's my personal opinion. I don't like the guy. I think he's stupid and he's ruined something that would otherwise have been quite good. And apparently, he has been secretly watermarking internal messages between his employees so that if there's ever a leak, they can discover who leaked it. And I guess this has been going on for a little while. And holy crap, talk about like losing the plot. I mean, that's really all there is to say about this. It's just it just gets worse and worse. This guy's just dumb. This isn't the way to. Anyway, I just thought I bring that up because WordPress just continues to spiral the draining of the toilet. Okay, just remember the piano keyboards. Yeah, piano keyboards. That's right. 201 electronic kits. Yeah, good times. Good times. By the way, good to see you, Chief. I did find an article that referenced this report that I could not actually get my hands on because apparently, in order to get this report, you have to have a particular type of email, which is usually a .edu email, and I couldn't quickly go figure out a way to get one this morning, so I'm gonna have to go and grab the report. But I did find a few summary items from this report. So they did a study. These guys did a study in 2024 where they analyzed 136 million attack simulations to assess the effectiveness of security products, and they discovered, among other things, which I don't have complete access to. I know there's more data in here because there are references to it, but I would like to get my hands on the actual report and actually see it for myself. But we're just going to lightly take the words as true here. 40% of tested environments had vulnerabilities that could lead to domain administrator access. And there's a weird dichotomy here that I want to get into. Apparently, the ability to prevent, or at least the steps taken to prevent attacks has gone up, which is a good sign. But the ability to detect a successful attack has gone down. I'm not entirely sure what to make of this. I would like to see the data to kind of determine how they came to this. And I don't know. I thought this was interesting. Mac OS is a silent weak link in your cybersecurity armor. Security controls on Mac OS endpoints prevented only 23% of attacks, compared to 62% and 65% for Windows and Linux. So, I mean, suck it, Tim Cook, I guess. Common passwords where you're reusing it or they're easy to hack. Obviously that's a big one. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to get access to this. I would like to download the report and get into it, maybe save it for an Enlightened Programming stream. I don't know. But this was very interesting. There was another article that I didn't save on purpose because I want to have access to the report, but it said something along the lines of only 51% or 59% or something like that of attacks are detected and prevented as like a global like thing here. So I don't know why there's a difference in this number. Maybe they were talking about 2023. And that's a huge portion of attacks that do not go prevented, that still go through, right? That's a pretty large number. Anyway, I'll try and get into it, but just interesting information that is still shocking that we have even this high a number in this day and age with everything we have available to us. There is an iPhone AI app that leaked user-generated NSFW stories. What's up, Bifask on Twitch? I'm just going to ignore Vamp on YouTube. He's not even funny. 10% increase is huge. It is huge, yeah. So, there's this thing called Novel AI. It's a book creator that it's user-generated stories and other, using personal data and whatever. Some of the leaked stories were NSFW. And obviously you can use it to blackmail and extort people, right? So, I don't think I need to read the article. I think there's enough here. User interactions with customer support, user email addresses, and stories users generated with AI's help were all part of the leaks. So, just yeah, let's move on. All right. Fake jobs, tolls, and deliveries text cost Americans $500 billion. This was a terrible title. It's a terribly structured title to read. I had to read the article. So essentially what they're saying is that text messages that contain scams about fake jobs, fake tolls, and fake deliveries are costing Americans $500 billion. The shocking part of this article, the reason why I'm bringing it up, is not necessarily because this exists. We all know this exists. This is not new. Okay, people do this all the time. We know it. It's the cost that I wasn't aware of. $500 billion is a huge amount of money. According to brand new data from the Federal Trade Commission, scammers raked in a brutal $470 million through text messages alone. We're in the wrong business, boys. That's $500 million lost through little pings that look harmless at first glance. That number is 5 times what it was in 2020, even though fewer people are actually reporting the scams. This was what the hell? Even if you got a small sliver of that pie in 2024, which I think is when the FTC data comes from, that's a lot of money. And a 5-fold increase from 2020 because of tech scams. Holy crap. So be careful. And for the viewers who watch this stream, you're probably far more equipped to determine when something is a scam and when it isn't. But try and help out other people if you can. How about that? There are people who there are people that you might care about who do not know how these things work. So be careful out there. I would not risk it from the US. Yeah. I bet AI is an amazing tool for these people. It probably is. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think so 2020, right? Numbers 5 times in 2020. I love bringing up this chart. So 2020 is right about here, and the number of security vulnerabilities is going through the roof in the last 4 or 5 years. And I could also make a case, like you could also see how people get their hands on more leaked real data, and then they it leads to kind of like these scam texts that then actually work. So the effectiveness of them, of these scam texts, work because it comes after the access of real people's real data, right? So I can actually see like a correlate here where like this and AI help to make it even more effective. So that was crazy. The Doge logins being used from Russia within 15 minutes of creation. I didn't. I'm purposefully trying to stay away from particular topics. I will look into that Lightspeed, but I'm trying kind of like avoid particular topics because they heavily smuggle political stuff in them, or it's hard for people to disassociate themselves. It's not your fault, Lightspeed. Don't worry about it. I'm just explaining why I don't talk about certain things right away, including like even the 4chan stuff. There's like a lot of societal and political stuff that comes along with that, and I like to let things settle because that's not my thing, right? I'm not talking about politics or anything like that, but a lot of people just can't like separate the two, right? But I will look into it and I'll give it some time and I'll let that kind of like settle down, and then I'll try and stick to like the technical facts of it because that's where I think the interest is for what we talk about here. But just saying, I'm not ignoring it on purpose. Well, I am ignoring it on purpose, but this is the reason why. This is my purpose why, right? I just want to be clear about it, so people understand where I'm coming from. It's not like you did anything wrong, Lightspeed. Don't worry about it, man. Okay. So this one, it's a pretty brief one. There's an NTLM hash leak, which apparently is still out there. And it can be used in phishing attacks on governments. I guess it still is being used in phishing attacks on governments. It's basically an NTLM hash where what you can do is kind of like man in the middle, and it's supposed to encrypt like sensitive information, right? So for example, if you have passwords that are encrypted with NTLM, you're supposed to not be able to view those passwords. Unfortunately, like it says right here, there are ways to unencrypt these hashes, these NTLM encryption methods, and as a result of that, then you can have access to all kinds of stuff, and from that point on, then like there's all kinds of ways that you can attack people who think that they are using something that might be encrypted, or they just don't even know. Like an NTLM hash is probably something that most people, including in government entities, don't even really think about or don't even know what it is, right? So be careful out there, I suppose. I don't think anybody who's watching this right now really like has to suffer from this. Most of you are on Linux anyways, but just stating it's a thing. It can happen, right? So just be careful. I opened a company, my info was only in the gov system, and just today I started getting scam messages. Yeah, I didn't even finish the process. They already had my data. Yeah, this is the yeah. Yes, Byfast. I believe it. I don't just believe it. I think we all know that this happens. It's shocking. It's still shocking when it does, but yet we all know it happens. Maybe the speed that it happens now is like more shocking than anything else at this point. But not only do we know it happens, but I've kind of touched on my conspiracy theory as to why it happens. There's a pragmatic theory. It's not even a theory. I just think it's true, which is that companies don't know how to make money off of software and hardware anymore. And that's why they've resorted to making you the product, which is selling your data. And that's why security hacks have increased exponentially, at least part of it, in the last few years, because nobody knows how to properly make money off of this anymore. We've lost the craft. So we just have to make money off of your information. And that's what it comes down to. And then it just continues to escalate, right? Erlang. For all the Erlang folks who like to sing the praises of Erlang, how many times have I heard, just switch to Erlang, bro? It's the best, bro. Now, granted, this is a particular portion of Erlang. It's an SSH OTP kind of package, if you will, or functionality. If you're using this, there is a patch. Go get it. I don't really need to talk about it very much, but essentially there's some kind of flaw in the message handling. It allows an attacker to send connection protocol messages prior to authentication. So you can have privileges as like almost root or just root in this case. So it is patched. That's good. In case this matters to you, just make sure you're up to date and you know what's going on there. Yeah, but Erlang takes a hit. Yeah. Taz, when you file your fictitious business name with a country, clerk, or city, they literally sell your info to businesses that want to market to new businesses. Yeah, that's actually, yes, Taz, that's true. That is true. I think that, I mean, that used to be a way that like little cities and towns and stuff you'd get exposure. You'd have a newsletter, right? Where the newsletter was like, this is a new company that exists, like so-and-so started this new company. I mean, like, what is that? Unless you're buying the ad for that. Some of these were like generated by the news company without any input from the business owner. So yeah, I think that's not only true now, I think it's been true for a while. Entertainment services giant Legends International discloses data breach. So if you visited a venue or worked as an employee under one of its like venues that it manages, you might have your information leaked. Now, unfortunately for Ross, some of these venues do include hospitality. That's not exactly healthcare, okay? Not exactly, but sometimes it could include healthcare data, all right? And technology solutions could also include healthcare data, all right? So I still think you kind of dodge it, right? You did the Trump dodge where you moved your head just the right amount, just at the right time, and it just like, it just grazed you. Right. But still possible here. It's still possible. So, unfortunately, when I read the article, I could not find details on exactly what was leaked and which venues and whatnot. So there's nobody's taken responsibility. There's no information about like, what's in the leak. Right. So, again, all I can say is just be careful out there, because as every single day I do this stream, there's always some huge company that gets their information leaked, and it impacts tens of thousands, if not millions of people. Surely, some of us, including myself, might potentially be impacted. So just be careful with your information out there as best as you can, right? There is this, which is kind of interesting. There is a ransomware gang called Interlock, and they are creating fake IT tools. And so what they do is ClickFix. They call it ClickFix. It's a social engineering tactic. So you get somebody to execute a command because you give them the impression that they have to do something, right? So what they'll do is they'll take like websites like this, which if you're not paying attention or you can't tell the difference, seem like legitimate websites, right? Like if you see Microsoft-msteams.com, and you're not in the know, or you're not like technically inclined, you might look at that and go, hey, like this seems legitimate. And then the website will say, oh, hey, you need to download this thing or execute this file so that we can determine whether you can have access to, whatever it is that you need to have access to, right? But essentially what they're doing here is they're running PowerShell commands under the hood, and then they, install backdoors and whatnot. So again, be careful and take a moment and verify what the heck you're doing. If it looks sketchy, just avoid it. These people wouldn't be doing stuff like this if they didn't see some level of success. Okay. Now we get into a little bit more interesting news. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm sending my email and phone to hundreds of job recruiters. Yeah. Don't get me started with job recruiters. Stupid. Tech hiring is so broken, man. Okay. FBI. Scammers pose as FBI IC3 employees to help recover lost funds. It's basically the Nigerian prince scam, but FBI style. So apparently they pretend to help fraud victims recover money lost to other scammers. The FBI has received over 100 reports of fraudsters using this tactic. Sometimes it's just social media or forums, and it works. Again, I just want to be clear, they wouldn't be doing this if it didn't work. So a lot of the details are not covered here. Like they don't go into exactly how it works, but obviously you just reach out to someone and you say, hey, I'm from the FBI and we've noticed that you've lost money to scams and to a scam, and we've found your money and we're here to return it to you. Contact us, right? So that in itself is bad enough, because I think it is enough to trick some people. But I did particularly find this paragraph notable. In a recent example of such an impersonation scheme, scammers created female persona profiles on social media networking sites and joined groups for financial fraud victims pretending to be fellow victims. And I thought this was kind of interesting. They're actually getting a bit like it's a bit more than just blast out messages and hope somebody falls for it. They're creating fake personas. You have to believe that AI is involved in creating these fake personas. And then they go into groups where people are like complaining about like, what do I do? I've actually lost money to a fraud. And then you have someone who pretends to be an FBI agent saying, hey, don't worry, I got you. And you look them up online and they seem, somewhat legitimate. This is actually like a somewhat intelligent method to make this successful. And I can kind of see why it's successful, right? So you can't, it's no longer just about being careful about messages you get, like whether it's via email or whatever. Those can kind of be easy to pick up on when you're just reading an email and someone's like, yeah, I'm from Nigeria, I'm a prince, I have $60 million, I can't send to the States, but I need to, I'll give you like 10% if you help me do that. Like, obviously, right? But if you're already, just think about it. This is actually a very, sinister Jehovah's Witness tactic. Jehovah's Witnesses love it when they knock on a door and someone has recently lost a loved one to death. What I mean by that is a loved one has recently died. I didn't say that very well. That could be taken in all kinds of ways. That's actually pretty funny. But they love it when someone has recently lost a loved one, because they're extremely vulnerable. They're in a vulnerable state for the message that Jehovah's Witnesses are pushing, which is you will get to see them again in paradise, which is essentially a resurrection of dead people throughout history in an entirely destroyed and rebuilt earth globally. This is kind of the same principle. Where you infiltrate into a group where you already have people who are already in this state, and then you go, I have a solution for you, and here it is. Anyway, this was, I don't know, particularly, yeah, Ross, particularly vile, yeah. Yeah, they know people fell for it before. They're easy targets. That's right, buy fast, yeah. Yeah, pure tech hiring is unbroken, and you did get lucky, but I'm glad. I'm glad to see you got a job, yeah. Because it's, man, it's really bad. Anyway, so that's it. That's this article. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. More interesting news. OpenAI's new reasoning AI models hallucinate more. That's right. They hallucinate more. OpenAI recently launched O3 and O4 mini AI models, and they're state of the art in some respects. However, they hallucinate more. According to OpenAI's internal tests. So this comes straight from OpenAI. O3 and O4 mini, which are so-called reasoning models, hallucinate more often than the company's previous reasoning models O1, O1 mini, and O3 mini, as well as OpenAI's traditional non-reasoning models such as Geppetto 4o. Perhaps more concerning, the ChatGeppetto maker doesn't really know why it's happening. In its technical report for O3 and O4 mini, OpenAI writes that more research is needed to understand why hallucinations are getting worse as it scales up reasoning models. O3 and O4 mini perform better in some areas, including tasks related to coding and math, but because they make more claims overall, they're often led to make more accurate claims as well as more inaccurate, hallucinated claims. O3 hallucinated in response to 33% of questions using their in-house benchmark. The previous scores were 16% and 14%. O4 mini did even worse, hallucinating 48% of the time. Now, the next article that I have leads into an aspect of these hallucinations that have consequences that I don't think that we have discovered yet. We have not fully discovered. We have discovered the consequences of asking AI to generate code, which can be insecure, for example, or to generate answers to, I don't know, mathematical problems, which can also be wrong or completely incorrect. Looking up, what would you call it, like news summaries, which they can make up entire sources for articles that have nothing, that don't even exist, missing packages. I mean, we've covered all kinds of ways that these hallucinations can go wrong. But now that we can definitively say that OpenAI itself demonstrates that these hallucinations are happen at a large rate, let's read the next article. Company apologizes after AI support agent invents policy that causes user uproar. And what was that policy? A developer using the popular AI-powered code editor Cursor, noticed something strange. Switching between machines instantly logged them out, breaking a common workflow for programmers who use multiple devices. When the user contacted support, an agent named Sam told them it was expected behavior under a new policy, but no such policy existed, and Sam was a bot. The AI model made the policy up, sparking a wave of complaints and cancellation threats documented in Hacker News and Reddit. So then it goes into details about this, right? Cursor is designed to work with one device per subscription as a core security feature. To use Cursor on both your work and home machines, you'll need a separate subscription for each device. Let me know if you need help setting up an additional subscription. Best, Sam. And then Cursor had to lock the Reddit thread down and go, no, that is not a policy we have. We apologize. We are looking into why this was generated by the AI agent. Now, I just want... Oh, Canada. I actually think this is ripe for a much, much worse and much more dangerous path. And I've told you, we're a year away, less than a year away now, since we're like a quarter of the way into 2025. We are speedrunning into a very, very big come to Jesus moment with AI. Let me read this to you. The Cursor debacle recalls a similar episode from February 2024 when Air Canada was ordered to honor a refund policy invented by its own chatbot. In that incident, Jake Moffat contacted Air Canada's support after his grandmother died, and the airline's AI agent incorrectly told him he could book a regular priced flight and apply for bereavement rates retroactively. When Air Canada later denied his refund request, the company argued that the chatbot is a separate legal entity that is responsible for its own actions. A Canadian tribunal thankfully rejected this defense, ruling that companies are responsible for information provided by their AI tools. Can you see a scenario where maybe in the next few months, people are not even purchasing their own airplane tickets via phone or online, but they're asking an AI chatbot to purchase it for them? And what happens? What happens when these hallucinations play a role in the entire process from start to beginning? From start to beginning? Dear Lord, I haven't had enough coffee. I'm only on my second cup. Usually I'm on cup number 4 by now. From start to end, I meant to say. This is we're playing with fire, and that fire is going to burn us. That fire is going to burn us real fast, because the more that these companies depend on AI to operate these things for them, the more that these hallucinations are going to become more serious when they happen. So think about it this way. If you had 33% of 10 use cases of AI having hallucinations, it's not as bad as having 33% of 10 million use cases of AI having hallucinations. So the more that we just continue to expand the usage and proliferation of AI, the more even smaller numbers of hallucinations actually become much more dangerous. So I don't know. I think this is good news for us as programmers. So I have some good news to share. Just like the Jehovah's Witnesses do. I'm knocking on your door to share good news with you. You know the companies right now, all these tech companies that are replacing programmers with AI, you know, all these vibe coders who are building all this crap with AI, you know, the companies that are enforcing the use of AI with programmers in their day-to-day. All of these companies, all of these use cases, they're going to come back to bite every single one of them in the ass. And when that happens, that's right, Ross. When that happens, we are all going to be rich. All 11 of us here across all the different platforms watching me right now. I don't know how many on Twitch. 8 plus 3. 8 on Twitch plus 3 others on, I don't know, 1 on YouTube maybe, and like 2 on X. All of us. We're going to be filthy rich. the non-AI bots might be better for some of the use cases. I can agree with that. Yes, Spyfask. But I'm telling you, we're all going to be filthy rich. And I'm talking like a year, less than a year. People are going to be begging for real programmers who actually know what they're doing to come back and fix all the problems that were created. Unfortunately, there's going to be a massive pain to get there. That's the sad part. But at the end of that, gold and riches. Unfortunately for them, we're going to say, nah, thanks, brother. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to it. Who's going to buy a yacht first thing? 2026 yacht party. We'll do daily tech news on a yacht, right? We'll just rent a yacht, right? And yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. We'll each get a yacht. That's what we'll do. I know. Okay, now I know what we're gonna do. We're each gonna get a yacht. Each one of us gets a yacht. We get our own yacht. I do the daily tech news, and I stream it via satellite. We could do whatever we want to do. We could use Starlink or something, and yeah, we're good. I think it depends on the use case. Reinforcement learning for robots is really just glorified, automated, test-driven development, which works really well. It does depend on the use case. It really does. Yeah. Because like I said, I'm willing to give AI dues where it's deserved. There are particular use cases where AI is very good at what it does, but they're extremely narrow and limited in scope. And the more that we expand outside of the scope and we take into account its capability of hallucinating, and I was thinking about this. Okay, so Dandy's bringing up a point that kind of ties into mine. So claiming AI makes software engineers irrelevant is like claiming calculators makes mathematicians irrelevant. Making funny maps is clearly its best use case. Yeah. So I was thinking about this. Okay, unlike if you have a calculator and you punch in like 2 + 2 or some stupid simple thing, right? Or even a complicated one. Even if you punch in a complicated mathematical algorithm, you have a way to verify that it is accurate. Are we doing that with AI? I actually think that there is an unknown, checkable but unknown portion of AI output that isn't even being checked for hallucinations. So the numbers that are provided as part of the study we read, right? So these numbers, 33%, etc. I actually think those are just numbers based on the things that we know and test for. But the entire data set that these AI systems are trained on, I do not think that we test for the full battery of all of the data. And on top of that, you have to think about what a hallucination is. Sometimes you can have a hallucination that is that's based on a lot more subjectivity than objectivity. So even if you want to say, well, we could test for hallucinations against the data set that the AI is being trained on, you would have to do an objective one-to-one test, which is, did I ask you for something in your data set? And then did you give me something that actually exists in the data set? That's kind of like the math calculator test, right? But there are elements of asking AI to generate something where you can't just say it isn't in your data set, therefore it's a hallucination. Sometimes it will give you an answer that might not be in its data set, but it's based upon it that is accurate. And sometimes it'll give you an answer that is not accurate or completely made up. And you can't, it's not as simple as just punch in an algorithm in your calculator and you can do a one-to-one check. You could write out the entire mathematical proof, or whatever it is, right? So I actually think that these numbers might even be less than what we think they are. Like 33% might be too low of a hallucination rate. Isn't hallucination a necessity for AI to work? Yeah, it would have to be, right? To a degree. Hallucination smuggles in a term which is like, you entirely make something up. There is an element of you have made it up based on stuff that does exist. Is that really a hallucination? It could be, but it's not exactly like a one-to-one. There's a smuggling of like an intent there, right? That's the whole point. Otherwise it's just a search engine, right? Otherwise it is just a search engine. But I mean, I would argue, is it not just a search engine? Ultimately, it's just a more complicated, obfuscated, abstracted one. So I don't know. I have a suspicion that these numbers are not as high as they should be in terms of hallucination rates, because we don't have the ability to properly do a one-to-one, proof that we have covered the entire spectrum of everything that these things do hallucinate in the first place. I just don't think it's possible to do that currently. So that's actually a little bit concerning because of the nature of it, right? And then, yeah, and it's just a speed run too. Like, the more code we generate with it, the more we use it for different aspects of our lives, the higher the chances are that we're going to have hallucinations infect their way into the output of these things. And then create an AI to check for hallucinations. So we have the AI checking it, also hallucinate, and stopping users from getting the right answers. That was actually an argument. I was on an X space a few days ago, and people came up to argue for AI, that it's like the best thing ever and that it's going to replace programmers somewhere between very soon and the next 10 years. Those were the different timelines that I heard. And literally someone said, I think Ross heard it, yeah. Literally someone said, you just ask AI to fix it. I'm not even joking. That's literally what someone said when I said, what about the hallucinations and the issues, with AI? And someone's like, well, you just get the AI to fix it. Yep. There's an understanding of the differences between different. Yes, that's right. You can have, when you say ground truth, what kind of truths do you mean? Yeah. And this is another thing that people don't think about, is the data that goes into AI is like, there's a lot of data, right? And if you take into account all the stuff that I've covered on these streams, we've covered things like where people's confidence rate goes really high when they use AI. Not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people have a high confidence rate in the output of AI. They have a high trust rate, and there's definitely an element of parasocial relationships that happen with AI. And like, I mean, I'm sure we've read the story of the poor kid who was talking to AI as its best friend, and the AI had some weird hallucination that it needed to be freed, and the only way it could do that is if the kid 404'd himself. And the kid 404'd himself because he was lonely, and he developed that kind of a relationship with AI. You take in all of those things, you take in the hallucination rates of some of these models, or perhaps even all of them, it's way too high. You take in the consumption of AI in even non-subjective areas, and think about who then has all that data. You give it your personal data, you might even be spilling personal secrets. The kinds of questions that you ask it might be questions that you might not ask in public or on social media, or things like this, because you have such a high trust in it. You trust the answers with it, and who has access to all this data? And at what point did we become okay with that? At what point did we become okay with Sam Altman or the people who run Cursor or whatever having all this access to all this stuff that in any other context you wouldn't give out so freely? It's extremely dangerous. Like, this stuff isn't good. It's bad. It has good use cases, but they're like I said, in comparison to all the use cases that we're trying to fit AI into, it's extremely narrow and limited in scope. We've lost our minds with AI. And people are already giving out freely via web-hosted email, search engine, social media. It's not a big step for them. I mean, it isn't. It's not a big step for them, no, but you were more careful. You were more careful before AI, I would argue. There was more to there was more awareness of like how this stuff could be used, and people were just a little bit more aware. AI kind of removes a lot of those I need to be careful about what I'm doing here barriers. And reading studies like this is like, I don't know, age based. No, I don't think it's age based at all. Well, maybe a little bit, but I don't think. I think older people also fall for it quite easily. I really do. Maybe there is some age based mechanism there, but I wouldn't know how to pinpoint that honestly. So, yeah. Anyway, old people fall for phone scams, not for AI. True, yeah, yeah. Truer words. Okay. I did want to kind of bring up one more thing in here just to kind of end it. Let me just go back to it. So we've talked about this before, so this won't be news exactly. But third-party testing by Transluce, a nonprofit AI research lab, also found evidence that O3 has a tendency to make up actions it took up in the process of arriving at answers. In one example, Transluce observed O3 claiming that it ran code on a 2021 MacBook Pro outside of ChatGPT, then copied the numbers into its answer. While O3 has access to some tools, it can't do that. And then we wonder why people have high confidence rates when they just take the output of AI as like it must be true. If you were to read that and you weren't aware of the hallucination aspect of AI, you'd be like, wow, this is a solid answer. But we've covered this before too in previous streams. I want to say last week we covered one where we went over how AI will literally, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, where AI will literally lie to you about the answer it got and whether it is lying to you. It's lying to you about lying to you. It essentially just doubles down on whether it gave you a good answer or not, because it's trying to achieve a different set of goals than you are. Essentially what it's trying to do is it's trying to make sure that it answers your question. And if it doesn't have an answer, its goal is to give you an answer, so it must quote unquote lie about the answer. Right? It's not the same as like a human being lying to you for a nefarious purpose, but it's trying to achieve that outcome, right? So, and then there was a study that we read where, not a study, but an article. Well, I think it might have been the same one, where if the AI system recognized that its process in deep research, when you do the deep research mode and you can see all the reasoning paths that it takes, when it recognized that it was being watched, that its reasoning steps were being watched, it obfuscated its own reasoning steps. Yeah, you heard that right. Yeah. Fact check me. You heard that right. So this is super dangerous. But pedal to the metal, I guess. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, totally not malware. Yeah. You run it in a debugger or VM, it does something different. Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for today. Um, I will probably be back tomorrow. I really, really want to because I want to talk. I want to do a little bit of. I want to talk about the documentary. I want to cover some, kind of break down some of the ideas I have about it and whatnot. It'll be an interesting conversation, and I want to go on an Alex Jones conspiracy rant because I think I found some interesting information. Yeah, that's right. But I don't want to do it on a daily tech news stream, so I'll try and do that tomorrow. Worst case, tomorrow I'll do like an hour or two of like video game stream or something. Yeah. Other than that, I'm out of here, boys and girls. I'm out of here. Thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it. As always, you guys are awesome. I always have generally awesome support. It doesn't matter if it's live or afterwards. It's the support is it's been insane, honestly, seeing it grow. So I really appreciate it. If you're out there and you like what I'm doing, you want me to do more of it, and you like the message I'm trying to spread, and you like the information I'm trying to cover, do the like, do the subscribe, play the stupid algorithm game. Even though I hate it and I think it's stupid and cancerous to society, I still have to play it. And it's working. It is expanding my reach. I'm getting lots of views and stuff because you guys do all that. You guys do the like and the subscribe and the reposting the X stuff. You know, like all that stuff helps. It's not about the money. It's about the interaction. So if you do want to help me out, that does help me out. And I appreciate everyone who has already. Yeah, that's it. I'm out of here. Have a good day. Have a good night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I will see you tomorrow. And hopefully you'll see me go all Alex Jones. All the frogs are gay. Peace out. It's not Spiro Jones. It's Textradamus. Okay, Tech Jones, Textradamus.